Well, hello there! I'm Dr. Chung, and welcome to your friendly proctologist. Thanks so much for exploring the channel and being here today. I want to give a wholehearted and warm thank you again to all of you who are exploring and looking around and watching these videos. I really hope it does bring you benefit. But I appreciate you being a part of this community, sharing this channel and watching the videos and helping this channel to grow. It's been a fantastic, pretty much exactly 2 years. This channel has just been exploding. And again, I just hope that you're getting something out of this, and you're helping yourselves. You're getting better, and I'm so happy to see the comments of the people that are benefiting. It's fantastic. I'm really happy for all of you, and I wish all of you extremely well with your bottom ends that are, they're killer, man. They are really tough to deal with every single day. So today's video, I want to talk about something interesting, and I've been turned to this thing, Manuka honey. I've done a little bit of research on it in terms of what people are doing with it, and it's cool. When people are finding something new that helped them and they share with other people, that's what the internet is about, right? The world becomes smaller. The information spreads like lightning. And when you've got something like this that could be a potential Nobel Prize winner, Manuka honey treating all hemorrhoids, you've got to spread the news. How could you keep it to yourself, You got to help everyone out there. And that's what's awesome about this community and the support groups out there. So what do you think about that, Dr. Chung? Is it fake? Is it real? Should I go out and get it? How does it work? What are your thoughts on that? And here it is. So Manuka honey is sugar, right? It's pure sugar. It's natural. It's beautiful stuff. But sugar has an interesting property. It is hygroscopic, which means it is pulling water. It sucks in water into itself, and that's sugar in general, okay, because of the chemical makeup in it. And that's another reason why sugar dissolves in water so well, because it will immediately bind to the water and just soak itself in it. It's doing a sitz bath of water in itself whenever you put it in water. So let's take a hemorrhoid flare, for example. You've pissed it off, you've got an injury there. And what does inflammation, how does it happen? It's because of the immune system coming in, marching in. They're spitting out a whole bunch of chemicals to heal things, but also to bring in the process of inflammation, which is essential to heal. And the inflammation, what it's doing is making things feel swollen, making things feel full. It also makes things feel more painful, okay? The blood vessels are also widening up. They're dilating and bringing more blood and more fluid into the area, which is how the water, everything just floods and gets huge and boggy down there. And when you put the Manuka honey on this, like the sugar properties of this honey wants to suck up the water. It's just what it naturally wants to do. It can't help it. So the skin lining of our anus on the outside is very thin, so water can pass through easier than on your skin on your arm. And if it's an internal hemorrhoid that's popping out and it has intestinal lining on it, it's going to be an easier barrier for water to skip over from the hemorrhoid into the Manuka honey. And what is happening then? So if there's a huge flux, a movement of water moving from the hemorrhoid into the honey, into the sugar, then that inflamed hemorrhoid is going to start shrinking down, or maybe it's going to stop the progression of the swelling and it's going to kind of maintain it. And as the inflammation starts to settle down, it starts to slow down, because that's what normally happens, then the sugar, the honey, is going to keep sucking more of the water, and it's going to have that competing effect where it's going to be able to allow that hemorrhoid to shrink even faster than it would on its own, right? Super interesting stuff. And let me illustrate this point a little bit further now, okay? If the hygroscopic, Let me illustrate the hygroscopic with the water sucking forces of that sugar for you. If you live in Florida, Puerto Rico, where it's very humid out, okay, you put some dry powdered sugar or just dry granular sugar into a glass cup, okay? It's going to be dry, it's going to be very easy to put your finger in and just kind of make little sand drawings in it, right? But if you leave that cup on the countertop for a week, you come back to it, you put your finger in there, is it still going to be powdery and dry? No, you know it's going to be clumpy and moist. And again, what's happening there is the water in the air, in the atmosphere, is being sucked into the sugar. The sugar is seeing that water molecule in the air and just sucking it and pulling it down for itself. And another interesting thing, okay? Doctors use this in the emergency room, okay? I've done it personally for many patients, okay? The properties of this sugar is not a mysterious thing, it's real. So I've had many patients who have had a bad hemorrhoid floor. Like there's multiple bubbles sticking out of the patient's bottom end and they're all brown. They're like hot red, even some brown, just because the blood is staining and making these hemorrhoids on the outside just look super purple and blue even. And we got to get the inflammation down quickly. So what do? We go to the break room of the ER because we know there's gonna be coffee and sugar there. So we grab all the sugar packets we can, and we're going back to the patient's room and we're unzipping packets of sugar and just dusting it on the patient's butthole, okay? It sounds funny and it looks hilarious. I mean, when this happens, I'm telling you, there's always a personnel in the ER has never seen this before, and they are looking in amazement with their mouths dropped open and saying, what the heck are they doing? Is this real medicine? Like, is this some hack on TikTok? Is it a TikTok challenge? No, it's not. So we drizzle it on the patients. We just put a mountain of it, okay? A huge mountain of sugar there. And this is not for recreational purposes. We're not going to snort off this person's anus, okay? We are then putting gauze on top of this mountain of sugar. And we are putting pressure against it, okay? So what is happening? The sugar that's on top of the hemorrhoid is sucking up all that drainage that's there. And you know it's very, very wet. A lot of juices and a lot of like discharges there. It sucks that up. After a while, we are brushing away that old clumpy soaked sugar and we're putting more fresh dry sugar on it. We put more on there because after that discharge is sucked up, the sugar goes to work on the hemorrhoids themselves. And that lining, like I said, is very, very thin. It allows water to pass through very easily. And the sugar is a great competitor for that water. So what happens? That water goes from the hemorrhoids and jumps into the sugar. And so when you do that, you've got this flow going into the sugar, the hemorrhoids start to swell down little by little. And it's pretty amazing. It doesn't actually take very long, especially when you got pressure behind it. Okay, so what's the pressure doing? That compression of that gauze against the sugar. Well, the anus is squeezing down, as you know. There's a lot of pain. The patient's in spasm. But what we want to do is return these hemorrhoids in the inside because then the anus can squeeze on the hemorrhoids and squeeze the blood out. And also it squeezes the water out because it's like wringing out your shirt. Like, you know, you're doing laundry in a stream or a river. You wring out your clothes and you get the water out. So we're pushing on the sugar. Sugar's on the hemorrhoids. The anus, we're pushing it into the anus. The anus and everything, we're compressing and squeezing out the fluid and the blood and everything in the hemorrhoids so we can get them to go in. And eventually the hemorrhoids are a lot smaller than what the patient came in there with. And we can give the patient some relief. Because you know that when that type of situation is happening, pain is something we have to control right away, okay? Because that patient, there isn't any medication that will get rid of the pain unless we completely make you unconscious, right? That's the kind of situation that person is in at the time. And so, Manuka honey, sugar, it's a real thing. But does it have to be Manuka? I don't know. But in my opinion, regular farmer in your local grocery market, that should be pretty much the same thing. I don't know if there's really anything chemically different than Manuka honey. How about brown sugar? Powdered sugar? Regular granular, sugar cane sugar, maybe Sour Patch Kids. I don't know. And I think that sugar in general is very safe to put on. Now, if you're diabetic, maybe not, okay? Because that sugar will also get absorbed into your bloodstream, okay? So watch out for your sugar levels. But again, as long as it's sugar and it's got that property, because it has that property in there, this can be a nice tactic for you. And so when is this appropriate? When would it help you? When there is an injury, and that's what's bringing out the inflammation, and that's where the water is. If you just have a skin tag that's just been hanging around and it's calm, that's probably not going to do anything, okay? If you just have hemorrhoids that swell with bowel movements because there's just blood going back and forth because you're sitting and gravity pools the blood in your hemorrhoids, probably not going to work. It probably would work without the honey regardless. Okay, you're probably not going to see an improved response there. But who knows? I'm definitely not claiming to be the expert on this. The only way to know is to try and see if you can get it to work or if it helps you and you feel better with it. That's the other thing too, is it could be soothing for people, and so that's why it helps them as well. It doesn't necessarily do anything for the hemorrhoid, but it just feels good to be there. So I hope this video helps you. Let us know your Manuka honey stories or sugar stories. See what you've done. Let people know what you've been trying. Let's help each other out. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.